Hey everybody, it's your girl Planet Ty on deck. I hope you guys are having a great day, afternoon, and or evening whenever you guys are seeing this. So thank you guys so much for rocking with me. You guys already know I appreciate that. So today I'm going to be sharing the story of Ruth Snyder and Judd Gray. This is a case that is filled with lust, passion, betrayal that eventually led to murder. And if you guys want to know all the details and the ins and outs about this case, all you guys gotta do, stay tuned. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for being back on deck. Without further ado, let's jump into this story time. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, let's do a little background history. So Ruth Brown Snyder was born on March 27th, 1895, and Judd Gray was born July 8th, 1892. So already we have a fire and water mix, with her being a Aries and Judd being a Cancer. So I don't know if anybody's into astrology or if anybody follows the signs or anything else like that, but already based on what I know this is going to be interesting. But how do you guys think this is going to turn out? Water and fire, do they truly mix? You guys light up the comments and let me know your thoughts. Okay, so Ruth was married to a 44-year-old man named Albert Snyder. He worked as an art editor for a magazine company named Motor Boating. So let's see. So Albert, Ruth's husband, he was gone all times of the night and day. At some point, he excelled within his career, thus making his career very important to him. So he did what he had to do, to kind of afford them to live the lifestyle that they had. Now, not to say that their lifestyle was completely lavish, because by no means was it completely lavish. However, I would describe it as probably more of an upper middle class lifestyle. So, he would work long hours, and Judd was a housewife. Okay. Yeah, so Albert, he would often spend long hours away at work, rather than, and his job was pretty demanding as expected. And at some point in their marriage, the couple had a daughter named Lorraine Snyder. So they had been together, they seen each other, they felt the love, the lust, all the feelings, whatever else. They got together, they got married. Judd got a career that, was bringing home the bacon or whatever else. And then, so now they're comfortable, they have a daughter, right? Okay, so happy wife, happy life, right? Right? You guys know that saying? Well, some reports suggest that Ruth was discontent within her life, and she was just allowing time to pass. Now, some might wonder, well, you're a housewife, everything's paid for, it's all taken care of, right? Like, what could possibly go wrong or be wrong? Well, plenty of things could be wrong, even if that's why, for some of the richest people, you guys ever notice that if you were to, hear different testimony about different times in their life after they quote unquote had it all, well, some of the times that they have some of their most miserable or low moments, because having it all in one way does not mean that you can have it all in another way. And I think that likely played a part in Ruth feeling discontent within her own marriage. So in 1925, Ruth met a corset salesman named Henry Judd Gray. Now, this is the Judd that I was mentioning earlier, okay? So she met him while having lunch in New York. Now, at the time, Ruth was 32. She was described as tall, blonde, and they described her as attractive. I have a picture of her in here. You guys can decide for yourselves. And they said she had a very commanding personality. Kind of like when I step up in a room, I own it type personality, okay? And then Judd Gray, at the time, he was 34, and he was described as short and had a cleft chin and thick glasses that gave him a look of surprise. Now, I have a picture of Judd in here as well. Now, basically, I cut out some of the descriptive words that were used to describe these two, because I was thinking, okay, well, you guys describe her as like a bombshell in a way, and you guys are basically saying, for him, he wasn't that much to look at. But you guys, I have both of their pictures here. You guys decide, and what do you guys think? I think they both look fine. Okay, so despite that fact that, I guess reports suggest that Judd was not a runway model in his appearance, they were actually polar opposites. They had deep sexual attraction that flared between the two from the moment they met. Now, you guys know how chemistry is, right? I don't think that chemistry is based on, strictly physical attraction. It's the mental attraction and all that good stuff, right? But from the time that these two met, they shared chemistry, like instant chemistry. And they knew that they wanted to be a part of each other's life. Well, intimate at least. Now, I should also say that Jude as well as Ruth, they were both married when they met, okay? So let's see. So they begin their love affair. The couple, they only had Ruth's 9-year-old daughter to kind of be concerned with. Now, keep in mind, Ruth's husband, he was away at work, right? So the 9-year-old daughter, Ruth had to make sure her daughter got to school. And then after school, of course, there's, the homework and then everything like that. Now, because this is an affair going on, you can't just spend time when your husband gets home and say, okay, yeah, bye, I'm going to go out and hang out with my mister, That don't really work that way, right? So she had to spend whatever time she could getting to know Jude and spending time with him, intimately and everything like that. So what she would do is while her daughter would be at school, she would actually bring Jude to her house, okay? So the daughter would have play dates, and so would her and Jude. They'd be doing their adult play times full time while her husband was at work and her daughter was at school. Now, at some point, their infatuation, their lust and hormones, if you will, got all carried away and wrapped up with one another, and they decided to take it up a step or two. Okay, so while Lorraine was at school, on other occasions, when they really wanted to hang out, and Jude, of course, she was the babysitting because she was a housewife, so it would be improper for her to ask her husband if she could get a babysitter. Well, what would you be doing if if somebody else is watching our kid? Then what in the world would you possibly be doing? Would be the sentiment, right? Okay, so she wanted to hang out with Jude, and she had no babysitter. So what she did is she went ahead and went to a hotel with him, and she left her daughter, 9-year-old, Lorraine, would be left in the hotel lobby while her mother and her lover met upstairs, and they seemed to meet as often as they possibly could. Okay, so a little side note for me. I know this was a different time. I know this was a different day. I understand all that. But at what point is it ever okay to leave your daughter or any kid of yours inside of a hotel lobby? You tell them, okay, sit right here, read your book, do your coloring, do your homework. I'll be right back. And then you proceed to mosey away, go upstairs, get in the room, go ahead and back that thing up a few times, you know what I mean? Or ride it like a pony, whatever you're into. I'm just saying. You decide to engage fully while your daughter's downstairs in the lobby. So just, I know it was a different time. This was in 1892, but I didn't know that it would be permissible back then to do something like that. But apparently it was because she did, right? Y'all light up the comments to let me know what you think about that. Do you guys think it would ever be okay to do something like that? Now, let me go ahead and get back into this story time. So Ruth, she soon changed from a sex-obsessed housewife to a woman with devious plans. Now, bored in her loveless marriage, she tried to convince Jude that her husband mistreated her and that he must be killed. So they've been going hot and heavy for some time now, right? They've been meeting, bumping whenever they could. They acting like teenagers. The why do fools fall in love sentiment. They just, well, maybe it should be something more hot and steamy than why do fools fall in love. But you guys get my point, right? So they're going there any free chance they can. They sneaking out. They doing this. They doing that. They're not really doing anything besides bumping, okay? They ain't doing nothing else besides hitting each other up. But anyways, so they're doing all this, and she said, you know what? Here's an opportunity. So she tells Jude, you know what? I'm so tired of him. He's not a good guy. He's not. I don't like the way he treats me. He makes me feel like this or like that. Now, keep in mind, by this time, Jude, he done got himself sprung, okay? He wrapped around her finger like a candy cane at this point. She got him, right? Whipped and dipped, okay? Damn near flipped. She got him good at this point, right? So he's listening to her, and he's listening to her complain about how she's been mistreated, and that, she really feels like, well, he must be killed. Now, Jude, when she originally brought this up to when Ruth originally brought this up to Jude, Jude was like, nah, no, he killed? We don't think that's a bit extreme. We've been having fun without him getting in the way, so far. So why killed, right? So he objected, but Ruth continued to pester him with hints and suggestions and outright demands. She would playfully soften the demand with the terms of endearment that the two of them had created for one another. They often would talk to each other in baby talk, which Jude would call Ruth Mumsy, and Ruth, would call Jude Bud or Loverboy. So this was their pet name. So Ruth would be like, "Come on, we need to make it official between us. We need to get rid of him." And and Jude would be like, "Come on, Momsy, Momsy, we don't have to do this." And she'd be like, "Oh, but Bud, my lover boy, come on, we got to make this happen. We got to make it happen." And so, the whole thing about it is Ruth's persistence unsettled Jude. Okay, reports suggest he was completely alarmed by her continuing to ask to kill her own husband. Okay, so because she kept putting the pressure down on him so much to do it, we got to do it, it got to be done now, Jude eventually turned to drinking. Now, I don't know that I don't see a report that ever shows that he had a problem with drinking prior to meeting her and becoming intimate with her and everything else like that. But when I guess she kept putting the pressure on him to kill her husband, Jude turned to drinking, and he started drinking not just a little alcohol, but excessive amounts of alcohol, like tons of alcohol, right? Because it was in an effort to settle his nerves, because he felt, like this is too much. So Momsy, aka Jude, she begged and she argued and she threatened, but Loverboy continued to refuse. He kept saying, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you need to just let the time pass, just wear it out. Everything's going to settle itself all on its own, right? Now, you guys light up the comments if you guys are with me on this story time. Do you guys think at that point, if you guys had been the Jude of the situation, this guy, do you guys think that you guys would have been like, you know what? I think I'll go crazy. I'm about to dip, because in my mind, if somebody's telling me about killing their wife, well, first of all, no, I don't want you if you got a wife, but I'm just saying, if you put yourself in that circumstance, no, absolutely not, because you may have already felt that way before I ever met you, and it would have nothing to do with me to get in that. So I would want no part of that. Y'all light up the comments though and let me know what y'all think, okay? So I saw it coming. You guys let me know if you guys saw it coming anyhow. So finally on Saturday, March 19th in 1927, Jude gave in. He had enough of Momsy begging. He was like, you know what? Is this what's going to take to make you happy? Is this what it's going to take so we can move forward and just stop all this? Now, mind you, he was married too. I told you guys that, right? Okay. So both of them are married. He's not trying to knock off his wife though, but she's trying to knock off her husband. And then he gives into it. Okay. So it was a cold, raw day on Long Island, and Jude spent most of the day drinking. Now, although he agreed to this, your boy, he didn't want to do this. He did not want to do this. And you know what they say about somebody who, does a lot of drinking, that liquid courage, you know what I mean? So he spent a whole bunch of time drinking, trying to summon the courage to go through with the murder. He and Ruth had cooked up a plan that had him traveling by train to New York from Syracuse, and then by bus to Long Island. When he arrived in Queens Village, where the Snyders lived, he walked around for an hour, stopping under street lights to take drinks from his flask. Now, at that time, here's a fun fact. At that time, it was illegal to drink in the street. You couldn't be in the street drinking from a flask. Now, it's nighttime, so it's already dark. So a lot of reports suggest that because Jude kept going up under a street, like he's walking, and he's been drinking kind of heavy already, trying to get himself courage, but he's walking, and every street light that he sees, he stops up under it and goes in his flask and drinks more. So reports are suggesting that he was trying to get caught by the police, you guys. Reports are suggesting that he was trying to get the police to stop him and be like, hey, you're under arrest. You can't be drinking in public. It's illegal. Okay. But you know what? Anytime somebody wants to be stopped, guess what happens? They're not stopped. So when he was walking and he kept running under these street lights, drinking from that flask, everybody who was passing him, it probably likely wasn't many people in the street anyhow, but the people who he did pass, they turned their heads like, I don't see anything. I don't see anything. Mysteriously, there was no policemen around. So basically it was just no point of him doing it on the street lights. But you guys light up the comments. Do you guys think he was drinking so he could intentionally get stopped by the police? Okay, so no one paid him any attention though. And finally, he entered into the Snyder home. Okay, now he's going through with him and Jude's plan. Okay, so he came in through the back door, and he and Jude, as he and Ruth, had planned. The Snyder family was away at a party and will return late. Now, Jude had promised to hide in a spare room where Ruth had left a window weight, rubber gloves, and chloroform, all the tools for murder. So Ruth had planned this thing out from A to Z. Basically, all Jude had to do was show up, commit the crime, and then be out. But she had planned it all. She was definitely the mastermind behind this whole thing. So at around 2 a.m., Ruth's family returned. And Ruth opened the bedroom door a crack. The bedroom door where Jude was, the room that she told him to go to. When they returned and their daughter went to her room and closed the door and went to bed, and her husband went to their room and closed the door, she cracked the door to where Jude was, and she whispered, "Are you in there, bud? Hey, dear." I'm getting this from the articles from back when it happened, y'all. And so she soon returned, and so he was like, I'm here, I'm here. He's probably completely almost out of his skin. He's so unnerved, but he's like, yes, I'm here. Or Momsy, I'm here. Because remember, that's their pet names, Bud and Momsy, right? So he was like, I'm here. So soon she returned wearing only a slip. Now, for the people listening in, if you guys are not sure what a slip is, a little undergarment you put under your dress, that's more of an older school thing. This day and time, not too many people wear slips. Some people do. If you do, kudos on to you. If you've never seen one, Google it. But anyways, it's just like a really thin, likely satin or silk, undergarment people wear under their dress. But anyways, that's what she came wearing, right? And the two of them, right then and there in her house, they got down. They was intimate. They made sweet, passionate love. Well, actually, I don't know if it was sweet, passionate love, but they for dang sure had sex, okay? With her husband asleep just down the hallway, you guys. So, I don't know. You guys light up the comments. Do you guys think that you could ever be bold enough to actually go just full throttle with somebody, knowing that your husband or wife is just down the street? I mean, not down the street, down the hall. Down the hall, in the room, sleep. Very bold. Very bold. All right. So, I personally think that was Ruth's way of giving Jude final encouragement. Maybe, sealing the deal with the kiss, so to speak, because remember, they were hot and heavy, but the basis of their affair was based on all physical intimacy. I really don't think that had anything to do with love. I think it was just an abundance of lust and, just a whole bunch of sexual undertone. It was just, I highly doubt that it was, I'm in love with you. It's more like I'm sprung off you, so I'm going to continue to be here and do whatever you want as long as this or that's happening. You guys light up the comments and let me know if y'all know what I mean. So finally, after about an hour goes by, right, Jude grabbed the window. I'm sorry. Yeah, so finally, after about an hour goes by, Jude grabbed the window weight and Ruth led him to the master bedroom. Now, the window weight is what people would keep, like a stone that people would keep behind their windows to stop, somebody from being able to push their window open is what it is, okay? So he grabbed the window weight and Ruth led him to the master bedroom, to her and her husband's master bedroom, right? Where her husband, Albert, was asleep, ironically, with the blankets over his head, with the blanket over his head. Now, I have seen some people sleep with the blanket over their head before, but usually people do that when that's a sign of, piss off. People usually don't want to be bothered if they sleep with the blanket over their head. And for them to be a married couple, that lets you know, obviously there was issues there and the passion was gone, and they probably weren't even on speaking terms most of the time, because otherwise, why would I get in the bed with my husband? He has a sheet over his head. You know what I mean? Who are you hiding from exactly is what I would want to know. Anyways, let's finish this. So her husband, Albert, he has a sheet over his head. Now, the two of them, Ruth and Jude, they stood on opposite sides of the bed. And Jude raised the weight and brought it down clumsily onto Snyder's head. Okay? So, just imagine, here's the husband laying in the bed. On one side, there's Ruth. The other side, there's Jude. he has the window weight, and he was supposed to be cracking his head with the window weight, but instead he gets clumsy, oops, and starts halfway dropping the weight, and the little piece that he had of it just barely tipped his head. Barely tipped his head, right? The weak blow merely glanced off the man's skull, and while stunned, he let out a roar and tried to seize his attacker. So now I'm up under here with the sheet over my head. You done hit me in my head. I'm like, what? There's he's roaring, what the? Snatching a cover off his head. He's all upset. And then he comes for him like, wait a minute, who are you and what are you doing? He comes for Jude, right? Now, Jude became terrified during this altercation, you guys, okay? And the reports are suggesting that he let out a whiny scream saying, Momsy, for God's sake, help! So he starts begging Ruth to help him, right? He's terrified. Ruth's husband is coming at him like, I will take you down. Who are you? And the meanwhile, while he's coming at him like, I will take you down, likely he's not even paying attention to the fact that, oh, girl right here, your wife, she's sitting right here. She's standing right here. So anyways, he starts calling out for her, scared. Okay, he's asking her, Momsy, help me. For God's sake, help me, right? Now, when he starts yelling this out, Ruth, she was not fazed. She was not panicked by this at all, okay? However, she had a snort of disgust and anger, and she grabbed the weight from Jude's hands and crashed it down on her husband's skull, killing him. Now, after that, the two of them went downstairs, had drinks, and chatted about the rest of their plan. They faked a robbery by knocking over some chairs and loosely tying Ruth's hands and feet. Now, minutes after Jude had left, so Ruth ultimately was the killer. Jude, he tried and he tried. He said before that he wasn't up to it. He didn't want to do it. He tried. He couldn't finish. Whatever. Ruth actually did it. So they did the whole fake robbery thing by tying Ruth's hands behind her back very lightly and her feet. And then minutes after Jude had left, Ruth began banging on Lorraine, her 9-year-old daughter's door. The child ran out and removed the gag from her mother's mouth. Ruth told Lorraine, go get help. And Lorraine ran next door to the neighbor's house to do as she was told, to go get help. The sad thing about it is the 9-year-old daughter, she had no idea that her mother was in fake distress. She really believed, you can only believe so much of what you hear and only half of what you see. None of what you hear or only half of what you see. She just believed it all because it's mom, and I see her and she's, she needs my help. So she ran and she went and told the neighbors as, her mother had told her. So Lorraine ran next door. She told to the neighbor's house where they called the police. They got on the phone. They said, okay, 911, or whatever the number was back in 18 something. So Damon Raynon, the celebrated newsman, later wrote that Ruth and Jude were inept idiots and called the whole mess the dumbbell murder because it was so dumb. This is what a celebrity newsman wrote about the murder itself. Now, even though the pair believed they had planned well, their robbery was far from convincing. So the police, they began to unhash it, and they were like, it's too many holes in this story. We're not buying it. We're just not going for it, right? So the officers, they weren't convinced. All the items that Ruth had said had been taken by the mysterious burglar were found hidden in her house, and detectives began to question her. So she said that she was missing jewelry, and they had took jewelry and they had took money and all this other stuff, right? Well, the thing about it is, after just 4 hours of talking with her at her house, the jewelry that she alleged was missing and other items was found hidden in her house up under her mattress. So you guys, I'm sorry. You guys light up the comments and let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys think this was well thought out, or was this just something that was decided the time has to be now and they went for it? I don't know. You guys light up the comments and let me know what you guys think. After they found the hidden items in her house and detectives began to question her, surprisingly, she gave it up almost at once and confessed. But she blamed everything on Jude. So she said, once they found the jewelry in her house, she said, you know what? Okay, so here's what happened. And she wanted to talk all of a sudden. She starts telling a story. But the story that she tells says that Jude is the mastermind behind the whole ordeal. Now, Jude was found hours later hiding in his Syracuse hotel room. He shrieked his innocence and insisted that he was not in New York. When confronted with the train ticket stub that he had carelessly tossed in the trash can of the hotel room, though, he broke down and confessed. Much like Ruth, the first thing out of his mouth is, it was all on his accomplice. Ruth planned everything. It was all her fault. Now, the crazy thing about this story is, Ruth did plan this, and he had been saying no, but the fact of the matter is you did agree to this thing. You did agree, and you followed through with your agreement, but I think he should have stuck to his convictions. He knew it didn't feel right. He knew he didn't want any part of it. He should have, I don't know. What you won't do for lust or love, you decide, right? I don't believe they were in love. I believe this was a lustful situation, but you guys decide. So it makes you question, why did these two get together again? Oh yeah, it had to be the intimacy. So on March 20th, 1927, Ruth Snyder claimed that two giant Italians had broken into her house in Queens and knocked her unconscious. This is the first story she started telling the police when they came. So the police, when they originally came to her house, that was the day they came, March 20th, 1927. And this is what she said, that two giant Italians had broken into her house in Queens and knocked her unconscious, right? She said they tied her up and left her in the hallway. And then while her 9-year-old daughter was still asleep, they killed her husband and stole her jewelry. That was her initial statements to the police. Well, the police were immediately suspicious because Snyder didn't look like she'd been knocked out. There was no bruises on her. There was nothing around, nothing that's, that would tell a story of there being some kind of a brutal attack or incident, anything like that. Nothing showed that at all whatsoever where she claimed it happened, okay? They also found her stolen jewelry stuffed under her mattress within a few hours. And yeah, that's when she gave up Jude. Now, when the police got to Jude, he confessed but accused Ruth of seducing him and planning the murder of her husband. Police also discovered that just before her husband's murder, Ruth forged a double security life insurance policy in his name. Ruth had forged a double security life insurance policy in his name for nearly $100,000 in the event of an accidental death. Now, you guys, is that not the biggest telltale sign that we can always, it's like, come on, everyone's gonna, if somebody's spouse comes up missing or deceased, the first couple things that I would assume law enforcement will do is, one, look for the spouse, right? And then two, check the money trail. Any big investments made or, anything acquired, within whatever time frame, anything on the table to be received or anything else like that. I mean, that I would think that would be standard. Now, you guys keep in mind, $100,000 back in 1890, today would probably make her a billionaire. That's how extreme that life insurance policy would be. It would be that amount of money, right? And then she got it in the event of accidental death. Well, what would possess her to think that her husband would accidentally die? I mean, who knows? But let's finish this. So besides the failed insurance fraud, one of the most notable aspects of the crime was how inept Ruth and Jude committed it. They killed Snyder's husband by hitting him with the weight from a window sash, stuffing chloroform-soaked cotton up his nose, and strangling him with a picture frame wire. They tried to cover it up with a poorly staged break-in, and when that story fell through, the former lovebirds immediately turned on each other. Now, I didn't expect them necessarily to immediately turn on each other. I expected maybe Jude to hold out a little bit and kind of say, or just kind of play it off more. But no, those two immediately turned on each other and was like, it was him, it was her, I don't know. You guys like the comments, let me know if that's what you guys expected. So at the time, a journalist by the name of Damon Runyon called it the dumbbell murder because it was just so dumb. Yet for almost a year, it received press attention far out of proportion to how important the murder was to society as a whole, especially considering that these two people, they were not famous, okay? They were not celebrities. They were not considered people of status and importance in any way. They were just ordinary people. And all of a sudden, everybody's concerned about this case. It's like they became celebrities of their time strictly for committing a murder that was considered to be completely dumbly done. It's just no other way I can say it at the moment. Okay, so in its coverage, the tabloids press turned Ruth and Jude into sensational figures straight out of a Hollywood movie. So they turned it all the way up. They started giving them little names. This was exceptionally true for Ruth. Tabloids described her as, quote, a synthetic blonde murderess, a vampire wife, and most unusually, Ruthless Ruth. You guys see that? Ruthless Ruth, the Viking ice matron of Queen's Village. So they're giving her all these names, almost as if she's a superhero or something like that, or a supervillain rather. It just didn't make sense why this was such a big thing back then. But I mean, this was, so long ago. Okay, so let's finish this. So Jude also spoke frequently to the tabloids, painting himself as a victim. So he was, anytime somebody would listen to him, he was crying, she got me. She got me. She's it was all her. He was, all of a sudden now he's singing like a canary. But I think a part of it was because Jude, I don't think he felt like he had what it takes to stand up to Ruth. And he couldn't allow his no to be a no. So now that the two were split and he got to stand in his own conviction, he was just saying, he was telling anybody who would listen that this is not what he wanted. And I do truly believe this is not what he wanted, because he tried to get out of it a couple times. I just don't think he had the, I don't know, what do you say, the confidence and the strength to stand on his own convictions and to say no and just let it be a no or whatever. So before Ruth and Jude's trial even began, he described his affair with Ruth to the Daily News like this, quote, she would place her face an inch from mine and look deeply into my eyes until I was hers completely, while she hypnotized my mind with her eyes. She would gain control over my body and slap my cheeks with the palm of her hands. So, I'm not sure how that's so alluring. To this day and time, it might be called domestic violence in some way. But back then, for some reason, that would work for him. Back then, I'll say that. That was a very alluring thing. As long as she put her face an inch from his face, she would hold his face in the palm of her hands and slap it. And that was enough to get him going. Y'all light up the comments to let me know. What you think that would do it for y'all if somebody held your face in the palm of your hands? Y'all let me know. So this kind of coverage generated huge public interest in this case. 1,500 people packed the courtroom every day of the trial, while up to 2,000 people mobbed the streets outside. Hackers sold fake tickets for $50, which was big money back then. And souvenir vendors sold stick pins featuring a murder weapon, the sash weight, for 10 cents. The ending of this story is even more morbid. I know the family of the deceased had to be mortified that they were making this thing like it was like a circus event about their family. I mean, I can only imagine from Ruth's husband's family perspective, that had to be a really intense time for them. So Ruth and Jude were convicted of murder, and they both died in the electric chair on the same day, on January 13th, 1928. There were no cameras allowed in the courtroom at Sing Sing Correctional Facility where Ruth's execution took place, but a photographer still snuck one in on his ankle. Now, I said, and even though what Ruth did was not right to me, if I was her family, keep in mind, she still had a 9-year-old daughter, y'all. I would have been absolutely livid if I saw that was the last way that I saw my mom, and it's because somebody took a picture of it. Now, at the moment of her electrocution, the photographer lifted his pants leg and pressed a shutter release in his jacket, capturing a blurry picture of her body shaking from electricity. You guys should see the picture on y'all screen right now. The next day, the Daily News ran the photo of Ruth bound and masked and dying on the front page under the headline in all capital letters that read, "Dead." The newspaper sold out in 15 minutes. Everybody wanted that gossip. Everybody wanted that story. Everybody wanted to hear every little last detail about how it all ended. They wanted to see how it all ended. And keep in mind, there were other people who had committed murder back then. So why this became the case of the century or decade, I don't know. I don't know if, probably not the century. I don't know. Actually, it could have been the century or the decade. But why it became such a big case back then, who knows, right? in the end, one must ask themselves, was it even worth it? Well, I guess we'll have to wait till next lifetime to hear their opinions on that. Now, y'all light up the comments and share your energy with me, please. This is all that I have for you guys today, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you are new here, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you are returning, thank you and welcome back. Like I always say, there's always another story to be told, but for now,